I'm Shannon Rutherford, the town planner for Farmington. This is the Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. We will start with a roll call of commissioners. Robert Canto,
Here.
Rogia Afshar,
Present.
David St. Germain,
Here.
Liz Sanford,
Here.
Scott Halstead.
Here.
I'll note for the record that regular member Matthew Bandel is absent this evening, and our alternates, Bruce Polsky,
Here.
Mike Tucci,
Here.
and Kyla Zimmerman is not in attendance.
Okay.
Just double check. I'm not seeing Kyla at this point.
Okay.
It's all yours. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to the November 13th. I had to look at my phone. I'm losing track here. November 13th, Town Plan and Zoning Commission meeting. Liz, would you mind getting us started with the legal notice, please?
Certainly. Notice is hereby given that the Town Plan and Zoning Commission will hold a hybrid in-person and online public hearing on Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. Is it me or am I getting feedback?
There was feedback.
Okay, I'm getting like some weird feedback here. I'll try it again. Okay. November 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers on the following application. Town of Farmington Town Plan and Zoning Commission application for text amendment to the zoning regulations to Article 2, Section 8, RDM zone, and Article 4, Section 8 dot B dot 3 off-street parking in the RDM zone. Interested parties are encouraged to participate in this hybrid public hearing. Participation in person is at 1 Monteith Drive, Town Hall, Town Council Chambers, or online participation is via the link to the meeting in the Town of Farmington's website. Copy of this proposal is online or available online or by calling the planning department at Farmington Town Hall, dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 25th day of October, 2024.
Thanks, Liz. And since we have Commissioner Bandel out, Bruce, are you up to filling in as a voting member tonight?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, let's jump right into new business. Our first application, Sign Pro Inc. Sign application for the Hand Center located at 220 Farmington Avenue.
Hello, my name is Christine Braccia-DeFaro. I am presenting for the Hand Center on behalf of Sign Pro Inc. We are proposing both an externally illuminated wall sign and an addition to the existing ground sign. The wall sign is a 38.3 square foot externally illuminated wall sign with a low profile light bar. So it's just an aluminum sign panel with the external illumination bar on top. There is an existing 54 square foot sign, and this is 38.3 square feet, so it is within the 125 square foot allowance. And it is on the elevation facing Farmington Avenue, I believe southeast. In addition to the wall sign, we also have a proposed addition to the existing ground sign. So the three tenant panels are existing right there for Civic Infusion, Hanger Clinic, and Spine and Sports, which is an existing 13.1 square foot sign. We are proposing an 11.7 square foot panel addition for the Hand Center on top. So the total sign size will be 24.8 square feet under the 25 square foot allowance. We are also making the overall height 6 feet from an existing 4 feet, and the allowance is 6 feet. This existing sign is externally illuminated with the ground sign lighting. I believe that will be staying, no changes to that. And as you can see, it's just an aluminum sign with vinyl graphics added on to the top of the existing ground sign. And I believe that's everything. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
All right, thank you very much. Bob, any questions?
No questions.
Rosia?
No questions. Thank you. No questions.
No questions.
Bruce?
No questions.
And Mike?
No questions. Thank you for presentation.
Just one, just on the illumination is, I think the term is Kelvin, 4,000 Kelvin. Is it, can you tell me if it's not exceeding that number?
As far as I was told, it will not exceed that number. I do not have a spec sheet for the lighting though, so I can't prove it to you. But they are aware of that requirement.
Okay,
Fine, and we'll verify at the time
Yep.
of building permit. As long
Okay.
as they agree to it during the meeting, then we're fine.
okay, perfect.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else have questions before we? Okay,
No.
can we get a motion in a second, please?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to, excuse me, approve this sign application for the hands, by Sign Pro Inc. for the hand center located at 220 Farmington Avenue.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Number 2, Sign Pro Inc. sign application for charter located at 2 Bridgewater Road, Suite 2.
Hi,
Hello.
and this is Kyla. I joined the meeting here.
Okay, thank you, Kyla.
Hello, this is Christine Bracha DeFaro for Sign Pro Inc. again, on behalf of Charter Contractors, excuse me. They are proposing a 20.4 square foot wall sign, not illuminated, just flush mounted acrylic letters on the elevation on the corner of Farmington Ave and Bridgewater Road. It is in addition to some other existing signage. There is a total allowance of 137 square feet. With the addition of this 20.4 square feet, they will still only be at 88 square feet out of the 137. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask.
Bobby?
No questions.
Roja?
No question.
Liz?
And you said not externally, not illuminated, correct?
Correct, non-illuminated.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
No questions.
Bruce?
No questions.
Okay. Mike?
No questions, thank you.
And Kyla?
No question.
All right, thanks, everybody. I guess we are ready for a motion in a second.
Another one? Okay.
Yep.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the sign application by Sign Pro Inc. for charter located at 2 Bridgewater Road, Suite 2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, item 3, John D. Pietro, fence exception for property located at 66 Berkshire Drive.
And on the phone,
Yeah.
John, if you would briefly explain the to the commission, please.
Sure. Evening, everybody. So my house is on the corner of Berkshire Drive and Robin Road. We have full view of our backyard from Robin Road and full view of our backyard and side yard from the Berkshire side. So I'm asking for a waiver for a 6-foot privacy fence that would run along the side of the left side of the house there. In the picture, there is the garage and then a little turnaround slash, well, not really a turnaround, a parking area that the fence would run down toward the road and then back again to the left side, attaching to a fence, an existing fence that's already there. On the other side, I think I'm within my area, right, Shannon? We determined that we don't need a waiver for that side.
Correct. Correct. But
So-
there's a similar fence off the right-hand side.
Correct. Similar fence off the right-hand side. So I guess it's a 4-foot, no waiver, and then so we're asking for the extra 2-foot, 6-foot for more privacy. And we do have, the reason is because we have dogs and we also have a young child that plays in the side yard. So we use the side yard mainly because our backyard, as you can see, is much smaller. So we're just asking for a waiver for the 2 extra feet.
All right, thanks so much for the presentation. Let me turn it over to the commissioners for questions. Bobby?
Yeah, in your application, I noticed that you're putting in a 12-foot gate. What's the purpose of the gate?
We have a lawnmower that is that we take from the backyard to the front yard with a trailer for firewood. Also do some we have a smaller utility trailer that we park behind the shed back there. So we want to make sure we have enough room to get that in and out.
So we're not storing anything back there. It's just for utility purposes?
There's a store, yeah, utility storage, sorry. There is a utility trailer. There's also a boat, but we'll be selling that soon, a small John boat. And the use of a camper that we're also going to be selling.
Okay. Is the camper stored there now
Yes.
in the location of where the gate's gonna be?
No, it's past that. It's behind the shed as well. You can't really see it in the photo there because of the large tree, but it's in that area along the back side of the fence behind the house, left side.
Okay. No more questions.
Okay, thanks, Pammy. Rosie?
No questions for me. Thanks.
Liz?
No questions. Thanks. I'm sorry.
That's all
I
right.
had something go through my head. Never mind.
Dave?
I guess I just had one question. Is there a reason why you have the fence forward toward the road rather than meeting it and not having the jog in the fence?
Yeah, so great question. The reason is because we want to get as much room as we can to be able to play back there. My son and I throw the football around. We play soccer. Like I said, we use that side yard as our backyard because it's also unlevel in our backyard. So the side yard is our level area where we can throw the ball around and he plays with his friends there. So that's why we have the slight jog to go toward we want to try to capture as much of that real estate as we can without imposing any viewing issues from the road or driveway.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Bruce?
No new questions.
Okay. Mike?
No questions. Thank you.
And Kyla?
No question.
Thanks, Kyla. Just a quick question, that what kind of fence is running the back of the yard now? So there's a fence that goes all the way around, right?
Yeah, so the back fence there that you see is my neighbor's fence. It is
Oh, okay.
Yep, it is a cedar fence.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay,
So these are the photos that he provided from his yard.
yeah. That helps.
Yeah, as you can see, the house is set back pretty far from the road with a large driveway going up to it on a hill. So
Yeah.
there is no obstructions from Robin Road or Berkshire as far as viewing from the road. I tried to get that as much as I could.
All right, I don't think I have any other questions. Anybody else? Okay. Any discussion? Bobby,
Have you talked to the neighbor about it?
So the right side of my house is actually a rental and I don't have any information from him. I know that he just had some people move in. The other two neighbors, also across the street from me and behind me, have no issues with it. We've had a couple instances where the dogs have gotten loose, and so this is more to solve a containment problem and a privacy issue.
Okay. Good. Anybody else? Any discussion necessary? Ready to vote? Okay, can we get a motion in a second, please?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the John DePietro's application for a fence exception for a property located at 66 Berkshire Drive.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Best of luck to you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
You too.
Mhm.
All right, item 4, Farmington CTA LLC, site plan approval for battery storage systems.
Good
Welcome
evening.
back.
I'm Greg Carey with RWE Clean Energy. With me this evening is Gareth Wilson. He's our civil engineer from BL Companies. And I believe on Zoom, we have David Rains, who's Director of Fire Safety, Fire Protection, as well as Jeremy Smith, our electrical engineer from Waldron Engineering. And I believe Zach Poston, who's my colleague at RWE. Zach works in the Danbury office. I believe those 3 gentlemen are available on Zoom. As a follow-up to our last meeting, there were several comments that staff asked us to address. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Gareth right now to go through them. Thank you.
Hi there. Good evening. My name is Gareth Wilson. I'm project manager at BL Companies, 100 Constitution Plaza in Hartford. Shanna, would you mind bringing up page 6, 7, and 8 should be the ones I'll focus on. So following
That's this page that you want? That's the site plan.
site plan, there's one before it, the colored aerial. Perfect. Yeah, it gives context for the site. So really, we had a few outstanding comments before. Probably the most pressing one was CT Water and CT Deep on the aquifer protection zone. I believe we both had received comments from them that there was no concern other than following standard best management practice for erosion sediment control. So, which of course, that's part and parcel of what we'll do. One of the other items was a chain link fence, if slats could be added to it. I don't know, Shannon, if you could just zoom in the north corner of the building. Really visibility wise, it's not something we see a need for, but I'll just discuss why. From the road to the enclosure is 121 feet. Off that enclosure, 7 feet are visible, and they're visible from the road for around 44 feet as you're walking or driving past it. So it is fairly secluded behind there. We just didn't see a need for slats in it, but again, the cost of slats are not worth really this conversation. So whatever your preference is, we'll go with. The other item was the C1 data that has been corrected. Apologies for that. The landscaping chart, we have included the requirement for the arborvitaes to be 6 to 7 feet at time of planting, and the substitutions are to require the approval of the town staff and landscape architect. That's taken on board. Then the grouping of trees. Shannon, if you're able to go to the next page and just zoom in onto that. We've dispersed the trees and regrouped them differently. So they're less of a row of 4, then 3, then 2, etc. And then, yeah, I think it was further south. Yes, around the switchgear. So that's been mixed up more for natural display. And then finally, on 11, the runoff. If you could go to the north near the best unit, maybe on the grading plan, which is next. So there was concern, originally we didn't provide enough data points for the elevations between really north, it's not north, sorry, the top of the page, the south of the page, we just had a high point to low point. We've introduced midpoints along there to show the low point is actually 5 feet off the building, so the water flow isn't going to come towards the building, but instead continue down the path out to the green space at the front, which it currently does. Really, that's all the changes that we took on board, as well as, main one, moving the best unit out of the 20-foot setback. That required diversion of a utility. So we're going to be doing that. That's also removed the need for the retaining wall, and 2 less trees are removed as a result of that. It's tight, but it works for the forklift truck that needs to go there. There's 3 inches spare. So, but that's really the changes since the last meeting. Have you happy to answer any more questions, comments?
Okay, thanks so much. Bob, any questions?
No questions.
Rosa?
No questions.
Liz?
No, just thanks for the clarification about the runoff. That was a little concern there. I'm glad to hear. And so it's gonna continue to flow.
Continue to flow out, yeah,
That's what we like.
no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Dave?
No questions. I was glad for the information on the refrigerant too.
Yes,
That was new also.
my colleague at Waldron who's took care of all that, so credit to him.
Bruce?
No questions.
Mike?
Sorry, I had an issue on muting myself. No questions. Thank you for the presentation.
And Kyla?
No question.
Thanks, Kyla. Shannon, I assume that the town's satisfied with the changes that have been made, given where we were during the last meeting?
So, correct, so we heard from Connecticut Deep yesterday.
Yep.
CT Water today.
Okay.
Both have signed off saying they've got no concern with the refrigerant, given the containment.
Yep.
That's provided. And obviously no concern, sorry, that was, yeah, in the coolant, there's no
Yep.
issue because it off gases. Or I've got it reversed, whichever. At any rate, and that's fine, and they've moved the storage unit, so the appropriate setback is met. I can find, they submitted a new set of plans today, which I haven't looked at, that apparently address the comments, the revision, the notes in the planner's report that just went out last week, but
Okay.
they were minor and could have been conditions of approval, so
Okay.
I think we're in good shape.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you. Anybody feel strongly about, well, any other questions first for applicant? Anybody feel strongly about slats in a fence or no slats? Just, it was on the list. I want to check.
I'm good.
No, I'm good either.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm fine too. It seems like it's covered by the shrubs that they're putting in and such. So I just wanted to check since it was on the agenda review. All right, can we get a motion in a second, please?
Okay, I would, excuse me. I'd like to make a motion for site plan approval for battery storage systems with associated utility connections for Farmington CTA LLC at 11 Executive Drive in a C1 zone.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for all the clarifications. We appreciate it.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
All right, item 5, Marcus and Robin McPhee, site plan approval for addition of 4-season sunroom and hatchway at 4 Hilltop Road.
Good evening, Marcus McPhee.
Come on up.
I purchased 4 Hilltop in June.
Excuse.
If you can come up to the
Oh, I'm
microphone,
sorry,
yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yep.
Marcus McPhee, good evening.
Good
I purchased 4 Hilltop Road in June. And what I was looking to do is just put on a 4-season sunroom right off the back of the house. And it's, it's got a restriction for the ridge line. So I was looking to just submit that in front of the group here and make sure that that was okay. I've got a couple of pictures where, the back of the house is, there's plenty of lawn in the back there. It would go right underneath those 3 dormer, or not dormers, those 3 windows on top. That's where the extension of that sunroom would go. Because it's a beautiful view. That's part of the reason why I bought the house. I was looking to, put a little sunroom out there so that we could sit and enjoy that room. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. Thanks, Shannon. Just following along with Shannon's mouse there.
Mhm.
So this is the sunroom. So this is the page top is the rear of the home, and this is the where my mouse is where the sunroom is going to be added. The porch is at the front of the home.
Yeah.
And is outside, as I think I noted in the
Mhm.
review, it's outside the 150. There's the front elevation. I believe this is being removed and is not
That's
part of the
correct. Yeah,
application.
not gonna put that in. It's just gonna be
A hatch.
hatchway.
Is the full chimney going in as
Yes.
part of this?
Yes,
It
it
is. So the full chimney remains. That's what I wasn't sure. And so this is the rear view and this is the chimney.
Yeah.
And so the side view you can see in profile. So that's where the three windows
Right.
are 3 windows staying or one's being removed then because of the chimney?
I believe it's just like it is, right? On the. One's getting removed. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I did, and just because I heard it earlier, I did talk to my neighbors. They're excited about us moving up there and doing some renovations to the house.
As the rest of the architectural plans.
Mhm.
In the
Right.
site plan. So,
Yep.
and I can bring up the GIS if anybody needs to see this and.
You know, somebody's gonna Shannon. in
Well,
this
in
group.
case, so it's already queued up.
I know, we
Ah,
appreciate that.
You want to say something?
Come on up.
Dave Rock Builders, I'm gonna do the renovations for Mr. McPhee. The only thing I was gonna mention, and the surveyor noted it, but maybe you can't see it on the graph. We're basically 130 feet from the ridge line as it exists. We're going back 21 feet. So we'll still be 110 feet approximately
Right.
from the from the ridge line.
On the ridge line itself.
So
yeah.
you can understand how far we're still away from
Yeah,
it.
that's a good point.
That's all. It's basically 20-foot wide by 21-foot deep. If you look at the plan, the existing bump out in the back is about 12 feet. So we're gonna go about 10 feet farther from that. Yeah, exactly. That's
Mhm.
12 feet. We're going back 21. So to give you
Yeah,
an idea.
about 10. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for the presentation. Let's see if commissioners have any questions. Bobby, start with you.
All right, so if I understand it correctly, the 3 windows up top are coming out, or the center one because of the peak and the chimney.
Right.
Even the 2 side ones, and then the bay window on the bottom is gonna transform into a door.
That's
how
correct.
You're gonna get into
That's
it,
correct.
and then you're gonna erect a chimney on the outside wall. just
That's
for
correct.
Decoration. Okay, cool. Looks good to me.
Rosa,
No questions. Thanks for coming.
Sure, absolutely.
Liz?
it looks good. No more trees are coming down, correct?
That's correct.
You took a couple earlier that.
Yeah, we didn't realize, we didn't realize the ruling up there, you know, we said, let's just try to get this going. Yeah, there's no reason. It's a beautiful view right now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
You took my tree question.
Oh,
Dave?
How much of your house is already on the in the ridgeline zone? Is part of the house over the?
I guess that bump out would be, right, a little bit.
Again, the existing house was about 130 feet from the ridge line.
So parts of it are already in
Right.
that area,
Right.
Within the 100.
right?
But one other thing to mention is the ridge line.
I'm sorry, can I
Yeah.
ask you, because we're not, this is recorded, so I'm gonna need you to come up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The ridge line, I mean, I guess you're concerned with people's view of that ridge line. It's extremely steep. It's almost like a rock ledge. So the road down below, when you're driving up.
You can't see
You
anything.
can barely see that house. Even when we put this extension on, I don't think you could barely see the
Yeah.
extension. We're gonna, and that's Mountain Road, correct?
Mountain Road is but you're
Yes.
fucking underneath there.
Yeah,
I
as you
don't know
make the
name
left
of it.
as you go up. It's not a gradual slope. It's literally a cliff,
Yeah.
a rock cliff. So.
And water? Are you gonna have gutters on there or
We would have gutters on the house, yes.
anything else we need to consider with water? No more questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bruce?
Are you excavating? Will you need any heavy equipment brought in to do this?
We're gonna excavate for that one room. That's correct.
Yeah.
You know,
Let's just
you
stay
know
up
more
here
about
now, yeah.
this.
Yeah, because there's it's a frost wall, 4-foot slab on.
4-foot slab on.
Yeah, 4-foot down slab on for that addition.
Okay. And what what equipment do you think you'd have to bring back there?
Well,
Backhoe
excavator
or-
and we'll be able to lose the dirt on site.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That was where I was going.
Yeah.
All right. No further questions.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Mike?
No questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
Thanks, Mike and Kyla.
No question.
Thank you, Kyla. Anybody else have, I don't have any questions. I think it looks great.
I think it looks great. I just want to comment, I live on Mountain Road and no, you never see your house. Never
Good.
see your house
That's
from Mountain
good.
Road, so,
Yeah.
so you're in the clear. Didn't know you.
Nice
were
to
in the
meet you,
clear.
neighbor.
Nice to meet you.
Anybody else questions, comments? Okay,
No.
get a motion in a second, please.
Okay, I would like to make, excuse me, a motion for site plan approval from Marcus and Robin McPhee for addition of a four-season sunroom and hatchway at 4 Hilltop Road.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank
Best
you
of
very
luck to you.
Fuck.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple of applications to accept for the December meeting. So let's start with Matthew Yard, please.
Okay. You ready to go? I'd like to make a motion to accept the application by Matthew Yard for special permit for expanded home greater than 2,400 square feet finished living area and 3,200 square feet total area at 100 Red Oak Hill Road in an R30 zone and schedule a public hearing with a recommended hearing date of December 9th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And we've got Town of Farmington Plan and Zoning Commission.
Gonna try not to sneeze in the middle of, sorry.
Do you want to take it? You can sneeze.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept the application by the Town of Farmington Plan and Zoning Commission for text amendment to the zoning regulations to add Article 2, Section 1.A.3, conversion of an existing nursing or convalescent home into multifamily housing in the BR zone and schedule a public hearing with a recommended hearing date of December 9, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. All right, and then we've got the item 8, the schedule for, there it is. There's your life for the next year.
Dun, dun.
So it's our typical schedule.
Yeah.
The second and fourth Mondays primarily. Our adjournment in August, one meeting in November, one meeting in December. The asterisk for the April meeting is reference to, it does align with the public school spring break. So just something for us to be mindful of as
Yeah.
we come into February, March, and we're setting meetings out to make sure that we'll have quorum for that meeting. Should there be multiple commissioners away that week, but it's the typical schedule.
Yep, okay. Anybody have questions? Should I go through one by one, I guess? Just for,
Oh, if anybody, they can just
No.
chime in.
If all goes
I just
according to
wanna
plan,
follow
I won't
the-
be here on the 14th of April. We might be going on a trip in April.
Yeah, it would be away April 14th also.
Oh, is it your birthday?
Yeah.
Okay.
well, we can worry, should we worry about that in April? In April?
Probably, if need, like I said, as we're getting
Yeah.
these meetings, then we'll
Yeah.
push it, because what will happen is we'll have to cancel it because of
Yep,
all the other meetings in April
Yep.
and the budgetary meetings and the town meeting and everything else that's going on.
Yep.
There is not an opportunity to reschedule that
Yep.
meeting. As it is, we have, I think there's 8 or 9 land use meetings that our office covers.
yeah,
Wow.
And then you
Yep.
add in the additional town council meetings that are
Yep.
required because of it's budget season, and you
Yep.
take out the full week of spring break. So if we have to cancel it, then we'll cancel it.
Yeah.
But that's
yeah, it
just
is what it
something-
is. No, I know it's been an issue in past year, concern raised in past years, but there's really no way to
There-
schedule it differently, so.
Now, we've looked at it
Yep.
a bunch of times, a bunch of different years, and that's really what it boils down to.
Okay.
If we won't have quorum, then we'll have to.
Yep.
That's one of the many reasons we have the extra 65 days. to play with. So if we need to, we'll get an extension and
Okay.
push it.
All right, can we get a motion and a second then to approve the schedule?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 2025 TPZ APA meeting schedule as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, opposed? Motion passes. We have a schedule for 2025. All right, we have one public hearing, just a few, I guess, guidelines before we have the applicant present. But they'll present to the commission. We'll have our opportunity to ask questions. We'll then open it to public comment for folks in the room first and then online. We ask generally that folks keep those comments limited to 5 minutes just to be respectful of the commission's and the public's time, but appreciate all the commentary that comes in. With that said, Garrett, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Just for the record, Garrett Daigle, I'm your assistant town planner. So before you tonight is a text amendment to the RDM zone and the parking zone in relation to conversion of nursing homes. So that's the other item that you set a public hearing for tonight for the BR zone. I'll get into that at the end. So just to start, there was a public act adopted in the legislature this year. It's called Public Act 24-143. An act concerning municipal approvals for housing development, fines for violations of local ordinances, regulations of short-term rentals, rental assistance program administration, notice of rent increases, and the Housing Environmental Improvement Revolving Loan and Grant Fund. Buried in that long, yes, buried in that very long public act is section 3. And I did give a printout of everyone of the section 3 of the public act and then a copy of the text amendment so everyone can take it home and review it. The act allows for the conversion of vacant nursing homes in conforming locations to multifamily housing by summary review. And summary review means in accordance with the terms of the zoning regulations and without requiring a public hearing, a variance or a special permit or special exception. So it's essentially, it's a site plan approval of conversion of a vacant nursing home. There is caveats in there that a public hearing is not required if they're not significantly changing the footprint of the building. If they're significantly changing it or demoing the building, then a public hearing can be required. And the property has to be vacant for at least 90 days prior to an application being made. So just for context, Shannon, yep. So these are, I believe, all of the nursing and convalescent homes in town. 2 touch points at 20 Scott Swamp, which has been closed for a while, and Amber Woods are located in the BR zone. Arden Courts on South Road is in the R40. And then the remaining 4, Farrington Station, Village Gate, Anthology, and Brookdale Gables are all located in the senior active adult zone, which does allow multifamily as a special exception use. At this point, we're only looking at adding amendment to the BR zone. If someone were to come forward, we would make a necessary adjustment at that time. Next slide, Shin. So in the RDM zone, I'm sorry, we're making a few changes. The first being on their development standards for parking. Currently, there is a call out for 2.3 spaces per dwelling unit in the RDM zone, and it's also mentioned in the parking regulation. So the first thing is to remove it from the RDM zone, so that way we don't have to worry about changing it in 2 places. There is a little note added that says parking shall conform to Article 5, Section 8, unless otherwise noted in the RDM zone. There's a couple waivers in the bottom, which I'll get to, but that's our parking regulation. The next is removing the requirements for dwelling size. This was amended by the state statutes a couple of years ago that regulations cannot require a minimum floor area. So as part of this, we're cleaning up the text as well. We'll remove this section. Additionally, we're removing a section on firewalls and sound control. This is a section kind of a remnant of old regulations. It's not something that staff would know to look for, and it's not something the building official is going to look at when he's reviewing site plans. They have their own requirements, and especially now with the increased fire safety and energy codes, it's pretty much in line with this, so that we don't see a need to keep that in the text anymore. Next slide. So the rest of the regulation is adding a section for discretionary waivers. There was already a section implemented. It was essentially for 299 Colt Highway. It's a multifamily development behind the hotel on Colt Highway. We're adding it as a step. So now discretionary waivers is a section of the regulation, and then there's an A, B, and C. One for this property, 299 Colt Highway. Another is for conversion of a hotel, and then the nursing home regulation. In this section with the essentially 299 Colt Highway, we're just adding a sentence under the density, which says maximum of 6 dwelling units per net acre, if not more than 10 bedrooms per net acre is proposed. And then adding, for the purpose of this section, a studio counts as a 1 bedroom. That's a simple thing. And then the last thing is parking will remain under that of the waiver of being from 2.3 spaces to 2 spaces, and that's only for 2+ bedroom units. That's about it for that one. The next one is renovation of existing hotel structures. This is the it's now called the Croft. I forget what it used to be, on the corner of Spring Lane and Route 6. This was actually added in the regulations in 2016. However, there was another text amendment shortly after, so it was a different draft, and this text never made it into the actual regulation. So it was approved, it was effective. The text never actually made it in the regulation. In the actual regulation amendment, you'll see it at the bottom, and then it's crossed out, deleted, and moved up into this section for the discretionary waivers. And then next slide, Sheen. All right, and this is where we get into the conversion of nursing and convalescent homes. When site in question contains a nursing or convalescent home constructed prior to the effective date of the regulation, and the proposed units shall consist of primarily studio and 1 bedroom units, the commission may grant the following waiver. So it gives a standard for when this waiver can be granted. Density, no more than 8 units per net acre, and net acre is not including wetlands and not including slopes greater than 33%. This is pretty common in our regulation. That's why it's not defined in this section, but it's defined elsewhere in the regulation. So that's where we get the net acre. Grouping in other sections of the RDM zone, it limits how many units can be in a building. If it's all 1 building for a nursing home, that's part of the waiver. All the units can be in 1 building because the Public Act allows it when you're not significantly demoing or changing the footprint of the structure. So it falls under that. And then if you're adding a building, minimum 30-foot spacing, just trying to break up the buildings and structures. Building height, maximum height of residences and clubhouses shall be 35 feet. All other buildings and structures shall not exceed 15 feet in height. Rooftop units and vents shall be screened from view of adjacent properties. Again, this is found elsewhere in the regulation. It's just adding it to this waiver section so that stays, that can't be waived. And the last part of this section of the regulation is front yard and buffer areas. Parking installed prior to the effective date of the regulation within the front or side buffer may remain, but the commission may require that the front yard be planted in accordance with the specifications of an A or B buffer at the 40-foot width found in the landscaping regulations, and that the side and rear buffers may be planted in accordance with section B, 35-foot width. So back to that landscaping section. Again, it's existing parking. We're not allowing you to add parking, but if there's existing, we're not requiring you to remove it in order to comply with the regulation. However, provide some additional landscaping to break up the view if at all possible. And then, like I said, the last part, again, in the text is adding in that renovation of existing hotel and then removing it and putting it further up on the regulation. And then next would be Article 5, Section 8, the parking. And this is just taking it from a blanket 2.3 spaces per unit in the RDM zone to requiring 1.5 spaces for a studio, 2 spaces for a 1 bedroom, and 2.3 spaces for 2+ bedroom units. I did look at the RDM developments, and changing the parking would not significantly impact any of the existing developments. Most of them, the older ones, they actually have 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units, so they wouldn't be able to squeeze in any more parking. They didn't really have, no one had studios and very few 1 bedrooms. But again, we're keeping it that 2 just so that there's adequate parking for anyone living in there. All right, and then the last part, which is what I talked about, which will be the public hearing at the next meeting. However, we want to review it all at once so that everyone on the same page. Any questions, and then we'll continue it to the December meeting. Is adding under permitted uses in the BR zone or business restricted zone, conversion of an existing nursing or convalescent home into multifamily housing constructed prior to the effective date of the regulation in accordance with Public Act 24-143, Section 3. Such conversion shall comply with the requirements found within the RDM zone. In this section, we're specifically calling out the Public Act 24-143 and the section number, just so it's a reference point. The Public Act hasn't been included in the state statutes yet. When we do regulation revisions at a later date, we'll add this to specifically reference the specific statute as opposed to just a Public Act. So that way it's all in one spot. And this was added based on consultation with the town attorney in reviewing the Public Act, that the town can still have standards to review the proposal again. It does not just have to be a blanket approval of whatever you want. So that's why we're allowing it in the BR zone in accordance with the standards in the RDM zone. So it refers you back to standards that you have to review and comply with. Simple as that.
Yeah. Simple as.
It's been
There's
2 months we've been
right?
working on this.
It took 3 or 4 conference calls.
I can imagine. I can only imagine. Well, we appreciate the presentation, Garrett. Well,
No problem.
we'll see what commissioner questions we can work up here, Bobby.
Oh, don't start with me.
We can go somewhere else if you want.
Yeah, I'm a tad bit overwhelmed. I was trying to follow along.
Yeah, I'm a little fast.
Just a tad.
Sometimes, yes, and I'm sorry for that. But that's why I gave everyone the hard copy, so I can give you the overview, help you understand why things are being done certain ways. You have time to review it and digest it over the next month, and then we come back in December 9th. However, in the meantime, if you have any questions, you just email Shannon and I.
And some of these dots
Basically-
get connected between now and December.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
So basically, we really don't have a choice on this anyway, because it already went in as a public act, and we're just cleaning things up on our end.
Yes, but giving it standards to review against. So it obviously changes some of the standards in the RDM zone, but it still is a standard to be reviewed against as opposed to just a blanket approval.
Okay. And then the one big thing I noticed in there is it cannot go to public hearing.
Yeah, the state statute, not, as long as the footprint of the building is not changing, you cannot require public hearing. If you're significantly changing the footprint or demoing the building,
Then you can.
then you can.
Okay.
Then it's like a normal development.
Thanks for all the work, and I'm sure you got more coming up.
Good, Bobby?
I'm good.
Okay, Roshan?
Yeah, I'm good too.
Okay.
Bobby addressed my questions.
All right, good. Liz?
Number one, thanks. Was dense.
Yes.
Dense. I'm glad to see us getting clawing back a little oversight in that. Background question, are a lot of nursing homes being converted into apartments and multifamily houses, or?
Not that we're aware of, and the Public Act only took effect October 1st of this year.
Okay, so.
I think it's primarily targeted at underutilization of vacant nursing homes. So nursing homes have a certain standard that they have to be met. It becomes to a point where it either becomes too costly to renovate the building and meet those standards, or too costly to run the facility any longer, given the age of the building, the age of the facility, things like that. So that's, if someone probably had this case, they brought it to a legislator, it was brought up as an add-on to a bill, and that's how we got to a 30-page public act that covers everything from blight fines to conversion of nursing homes. That's primarily where it is. There's not that many that I'm aware of in the immediate area.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna open us up to a whole scale convert. I mean, some of our, the only ones we have are the ones that were in the list that Garrett had assembled, so.
And some of those are relatively.
Some of them are
Right.
quite,
I mean,
are newer.
Yeah.
Um,
2018.
some of them have been recently revamped, so
Yeah.
Amber Woods is under, they're doing kind of a wing by wing renovation,
Okay.
so. Is it possible that one of the others converts at some point to a multifamily residential? I suppose it's possible, but I don't think it's gonna open up a whole scale change on us.
Okay, I'm just curious, the genesis of this.
No, I think in some of the cities where I think the genesis is to try to, we're back to the affordable housing,
That's-
housing density, housing mix, et cetera. And
Right.
this was perhaps viewed and suggested as a easier
Mhm.
opportunity.
Right.
And by eliminating the public hearing element of it and making it a summary review,
Mhm.
it eliminates some of the subjectiveness of the review process,
Okay,
right? It becomes very kind of matter of fact.
right.
So what is under, purview, so while there has to be a mechanism to allow this, it became difficult because it was in the BR zone.
Mhm.
And so then it prompted other questions. So we initially were saying you've got to do a zone change, right? So we had started at the platform, you've got to do a zone change. So this conversation started with them prior to, Touch Points is looking at this. So it's
Right.
20. So this is, right, the 20 Scott Swamp, we know it's been vacant.
Mhm.
So we had said, you've got to go do a zone change, and of all the multifamily options we have, RDM was the only one that was even going to be possible. However, the current RDM standards wouldn't work for revamping that building.
Okay.
So this has been a very iterative conversation. And then we had to get Bob D involved with this because of the Public Act.
Right.
And figure out, okay, well, if we did this part, but then I've got, if we leave it for BR zone, it's an existing non-conforming, and that's when Bob said, well, put it in as an allowable use.
Okay.
So that's how that came in after the fact, and so now we have multiple iterations of this that's been accepted.
Mhm.
So I had said, well, let's go ahead, let's open the public hearing so we can do this. One, two, it puts it out there from a public standpoint. From
Mhm.
at least it's appeared on the agenda, it's appeared on the website, it's appeared on the Everbridge pushes and out. Because when Touch Points or any of these come in, there will not be a public hearing, right?
Right,
So when
correct.
any of these come in, there will not, this is it.
Mhm.
So the thought was, let's go ahead, open it, and then
Mhm.
we'll continue it. So this BR portion will get married in at the December meeting. And they'll all get approved simultaneously. So we have one iteration, one revision
Mhm.
to the
Makes sense.
regs
Okay.
that have the same effective date to move forward. But when you're reviewing it, you can take a look at those standards that Garrett had put forth. So he gave you a copy of it's the full text
Right.
track changes.
Yes,
the full
yes.
RDM zone. So you can look at that contextually to what the base standards are for the RDM zone, right? So the base density, the base grouping, height. So those standards are already in there in that base RDM zone.
Mhm.
And then, as Garrett explained, there's already 2 waiver provisions that had been
Okay.
constructed, orchestrated
Uh,
to massage a few things to fit developments. And so that's what's been done again here for this C. Honestly, with the lens of 20 Scott Swamp. But that really, this portion here is where perhaps you have the most discretion. So as you're looking at this,
Mhm.
you can take a look at this text compared to that standard RDM text. I don't think we've deviated from it
Mhm.
much notably. But nonetheless, that's where there's some room for discussion. Overall, yeah, I mean, obviously, if we set that density so far or drop it so far low, right, it doesn't make sense. You can't from a practical standpoint, repurpose the building, right?
Right.
And keep in mind, the density perhaps is a little higher. We specifically asked them for studios and 1 bedrooms, understanding it minimizes the impact to the school. So a
Mhm.
studio and 1 bedroom, a building full of studio and 1 bedrooms is inherently going to have more
Yeah.
units and a higher density than a building full of 2 and 3-bedroom units.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the impact to the schools
There's none.
should
Yeah,
be
right.
lower.
Minimum.
Understanding that, so you'll see that there was a logic behind it, that I believe
Okay.
this density is higher than the standard underlying density in the RDM. But we've also put the caveat that for sentence primarily studios and 1 bedroom. So understanding that we'd like, sure, you can do the multifamily, but we'd like to try to keep it for a lower impact from a school standpoint. So that was the thought behind that, as you're looking at that density and why. So, but those are the type of things. And as you're looking at it, if you have questions along the way, don't feel like you've got to wait till December. You can go ahead, email
Don't
it,
wait
like,
till December.
jot it down. You can email us along the way, either Garrett or myself. We'll catalog it to the extent we'll catalog, and get the answers out then, so everybody's getting the same information, but you don't have to wait. I just ask that you don't do it as a group, right? Because it is public hearing. So just email us directly. Don't do a reply all on our TPZ email. That's all.
So just for my clarification, because I'm looking at, they didn't put an income restriction on this.
Correct.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, no, it's not affordable housing.
Right, right.
It's not
So
affordable,
they
but
could come in
but-
and do luxury apartments and.
Well, they could, but again, if
Right.
it's studio, correct, so they can do market rate, they can do, correct.
Okay.
Correct. I think the nature of repurposing some of these buildings
Correct.
is going
Right.
to inherently
Yeah.
lend itself to a differing market bracket than a straight up new
Right.
construction.
And that's what we're kind of expecting, but I just want to make sure.
Correct. And so while it may not be true affordable at a 60 or even 80% AMI, it may just be at 100 or 120% AMI, which is hitting that kind of missing middle
Yep.
that is needed to
Correct.
a certain
Yeah.
extent. But
Yeah.
you're correct. This is
Great.
not necessarily, that was an option to them, in which case they could come in with an 8-30G
30G,
application if they chose to.
Okay.
Right.
I have a question with specific to touch points, because it's been vacant for so long. Why would it still fit into the category of nursing home? Because I think I saw something that said 90 days.
Minimum of 90 days.
Minimum.
That's the-
So as long as it's been vacant, because it's
It's
going to
still-
stay
correct.
designated a nursing home
Correct.
until
Because that's
it
its
falls into the ground?
correct, because
Yeah.
that's its approved use. So it's historic and approved use since its inception. Yes.
So be it. Okay.
But there is a requirement that it has to be a conforming use. So the nursing or convalescent home has to be allowed in the zone it's currently in. It can't be a non-conforming use.
Which it is.
Which I,
in the BR.
yes, it's conforming use in
Okay.
in the BR, the R40 and the senior active adult housing zones.
Tangled
Right.
web.
Because being empty, it's probably our most likely conversion candidate, right? Everything else is a going concern. Okay.
Okay.
Dave, did you have anything?
No.
Okay, just checking.
Thanks.
And Mike or Kyla online?
Yeah, I think this is great. Definitely a positive direction. I just have 2 quick questions. I would love to see Touchpoint go in this direction, but if it were to go through hypothetically and become apartments or whatever, would there still be a traffic study done? My concern is, because I live right next to it, in the morning, people leaving that area, depending on how many people are leaving for work in the morning, going left towards Main Street, there isn't a lot of access going that way. I'm sure right-hand turns would be great, easy to do. But since there's no hearing, would that be voided?
Not necessarily. What has been discussed with them is the need for a traffic statement. So rather than a full-blown traffic study, what we've asked is that they do a comparative analysis, because it's not, while it has been vacant for, I think, 18 months or 2 years, it's not vacant raw land. So it had associated with it, and it had a traffic pattern associated with it based on I think it was 60 beds. I think something like we'll say 60 bed, doesn't really matter, but it's a 60 bed nursing home / convalescent facility. And so that has inherently a traffic pattern to that based on, and obviously they can't go do a study and count what that is right now because it is vacant, but they can use the ITE trip generation, have an understanding of a typical facility of this size and nature, your AM peak, your PM peak, and your overall daily volume. And then do the conversion when you take that from, say, a 60 bed nursing facility to a 35 or 40 unit multifamily. How does that comparatively impact? Is there a net increase or a net decrease in your AM and PM peaks? And what is that net increase? And my guess is it's going to be perhaps rather small in the whole scheme of things when you look at that. So even though the residents themselves wouldn't have been driving, perhaps at the nursing home, all the staff arriving in the morning and shift changes and eating and family members visiting, that type of thing, et cetera. So it's not as if it's a brand new from raw land. So, but they will be something like that. To the site, to the extent there's any site improvements or site changes, that would all be included. So this is going to set the stage for our benchmark of what that site evaluation is. So this RDM text amendment will set the parameters, if you will, for what we're looking at. We think about everything. We may not, we may not have. So we'll go with it as we go along. So obviously, if you're looking at something and you think we missed something, feel free to say, hey, we think we're gonna take a look at X, Y, or Z, and we'll be happy to do that as well.
So would a change be like adding egress doors in each apartment, or will touch points still be set up how it is, like you enter the entrance and it's kind of like individual apartments now?
Yeah, that'll come through. I don't know. So if and when they choose to go ahead and make an application, then that'll be evaluated at that time.
Okay, but it wouldn't come before us in that scenario, or?
It will.
would,
So
yeah.
it's all part of their,
Okay.
when they come ahead with a site plan application, all of that will come at that point. They can't do anything until we get the text amendment done.
Yep.
So we've
Right.
got to, and then as they're continuing their development process, and I'll be honest, we've had a bunch of people in and out on touch points for quite some time in this particular group, probably at least for the last 6 months or so. So it just depends, whatever changes they make to convert this from convalescent to multifamily will still have to adhere to the building and fire code requirements.
Okay.
That's separate from what we look at, right? So, but yes, we'll have to comply. And if addendums or allocations or waivers have been set up with respect to that, again, that's, we leave that to the building official and the fire marshal.
Okay. Thanks so much, Shannon.
Thanks,
And
Mike.
Garrett.
Kyla?
Thank you, Garrett, as well.
No questions for me. Just taking it all in.
Yep, it's a lot of information. I think, from my perspective, first pass, I like the repurposed building concept around this, which I think the commission's always been in favor of over the years I've been on it. And then the density at the same time, it's kind of a creative way to sort of tackle both. So I'm definitely intrigued by it, but I clearly have to do a lot more reading. Not as much as Garrett, but a lot more reading between now and December 9th. But anybody else, questions or comments before it is a public hearing, so.
So we still have the site plan approval meeting, so we're still in there. It's really the public hearing that's not going to be.
Correct.
Correct.
So that
Yep,
still
yep.
comes, it'll
it.
still come before the commission for the site plan review. For verification that it meets, these standards and.
Yep.
Absolutely, yep.
And
And
do we
anything that they're changing, so fencing or whatever happens to change, any minor site changes.
Yeah. I guess it's also hard to see that they would just be able to do a straight conversion without doing any demolition or.
I mean, obviously they'll have to do interior, right? So the interior will have to be, but that's fine, as long as it's
The
not
key's the
being
footprint,
expanded, the
right?
footprint,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's the footprint. So they could gut the entire interior, it's just it is you gotta leave the shell.
Right.
And they can't go up, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
right, yeah, I'm pretty sure they can't.
Yeah, it says, it says significant change in footprint. It might be, we'd have to have
Yeah,
that
dig into
discussion,
that
but
one.
that's how you get, you also have the density as the limiting factor as well. So
Yeah,
the
so our
maximum, yeah, the maximum number of units would also dictate how many units you can fit on that.
Okay.
And that's where, like I had said, where we had the discussion with the town attorney of that, we can still have standards that it needs to be reviewed against. It
Yeah.
can't just be a blanket, whatever you want.
Right, yes.
So that's why there's the reference in the PR zone to the RDM zone.
Okay.
Good.
Good, everybody good so far?
And we'll ask if anyone's called in to offer comment or is in the audience that wants to
Any-
comment.
Any of our government laws?
You're welcome to, if you've called in, please raise your hand using the feature in Zoom to offer comment regarding this text amendment. Again, if anyone's called in, please use the feature in Zoom to raise your hand to offer comment on the text amendment for the RDM and parking zones. Okay, there's no hands raised, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. So any other questions or comments because we're going to make a motion to continue to the December 9th meeting, and then this will all come together, I promise. For Shannon and Garrett, I promise.
Garrett's gonna, oh my, he's a master.
Can we get a good motion to continue, please?
I'd like to make a motion to continue the current public hearing about the Town of Farmington Plan and Zoning Commission application for a text amendment to the December 9th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Thank
All right. December 9th it is.
All right.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yes, thank you.
I've got a few
I know
planner
you do.
report things that we're gonna have a little fun with this evening. It should be relatively painless on this stuff. We should be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that too famous last week?
Okay.
There's only six.
I don't
No,
like to
no,
say, I don't-
no,
Bruce
Bruce
down.
said it, Bruce said it, not me.
Throwing Bruce under the bus on that one.
Only 6.
I'm just repeating, which is.
Okay, all right. So, the property at 1112 Farmington Avenue is the former Comer Nursery
Mhm.
on Farmington, Farmington Avenue.
Right, babe.
Near our Devonwood Drive, I've got to get, here we go. So this property is now owned by Pizzuto's and Hometown Foundation. And they want to do a holiday tree sale here. So it is under Comer's Nursery. It had, and I had included in the attachments that were posted on the website, and I had just opened up, there is a use variance to allow the nursery to operate, and it included retail sales. And we did, we had conversations with town staff members that have lived here historically and have knowledge that Comer's, there were tree sales there historically when Comer's were in their heyday, if you will. I've got a vague recollection of seeing tree sales there when I was a new member to town in like the early mid 2000s. So they're looking to do tree sales for 6 days, November 29th to 1st, December 6th to 8th. The hours on Fridays from noon to 7 and Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 6. So they had originally asked for the Polo Grounds. That was a no. So, except that if they choose to do tree sales at their already permitted event for holiday and horses, they can do that because the sales are for the benefit of the Hometown Foundation. So the sales are going to the nonprofit. So unless anyone has any objections, I've told them that they are free to go ahead to proceed with holiday tree wreath et cetera, type sales for those 6 days.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Right?
Sure.
Have they
Tell 'em he
agreed
can
to
sell
clean
hot
up though
chocolate.
after, like the
Yeah.
branches and things like that,
Yeah, we
post sale?
mulch a lot.
Sure, I'll make sure, yes, I'm sure they will because they keep their properties very tight.
Yes, it is.
So,
This,
Yeah.
this
Right.
property is even, it's tidier than it has been
In a long time.
Mm,
previously.
Truly,
So,
truly.
but yes,
Yes.
I'm sure they will, but I will make sure that that is conveyed.
So he's only, it's
It's a
he's only
very
doing
short
it
window.
6 days, yeah.
yeah,
So
it's
it's-
very limited window.
Well, they're doing, so they've.
So it's weekends?
So it's the Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving
weekend and the weekend after.
Weekend
My
after.
guess is they've probably already figured out that that's the peak and it's not for what they're doing it
Mhm,
for
right.
the fundraiser. It probably isn't
Yep.
valuable to extend it. They also have, about half the trees are going to their farm. They referred to their Cheshire farm. I'm not familiar with
Okay.
the property.
Yep.
So it may be that at that location, that's extended right through the holiday, the entire holiday season. But for here, it's just that limited, get it in, and probably 90% of the sales are done in those 2 weekends would be my guess. And then it's
So-
probably a trickle.
So what I'm gathering is they're probably gonna trailer them in and they're gonna bring them in on, because they're not gonna store them there because they don't want them stolen,
Right, yeah,
right? And
right,
They're gonna
yeah, and I
hunt them
don't,
up that day or two.
my
and-
guess is there's cameras on the property now.
Yeah, I'm sure there are. Yeah.
So.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
okay.
We
okay.
Good, Jen.
Yep.
worried about signs,
Okay,
lights,
so
or
we'll
any of
let
that?
one roll. Perfect.
Hang on,
Yeah.
Shane, I think we had one more question.
Are you worried about, are we worried about signs or lights or traffic for any of this?
Yeah, so the signs, they were going to use, an A-frame, I think just an A-frame sign. Sandwich boards, 24 by 36. Lights, I think there's some lights on the property. There'll be light sufficient for, obviously safe travel, because I mean, most of the hours are daytime hours, but say from 4 or 4:30 to 7 or 7:30 on Fridays until 6:30 on Saturday and Sundays, they'll need some lighting on there. But yeah, no overnight, I'll let them know, no overnight lighting,
Yeah.
no
He's
overnight
got
lighting.
light trailers, so I'm assuming he's probably gonna bring one over just for safety.
I'm sorry, say that again, I didn't.
He has light trailers, cause he always has the light
Well,
trailers.
he's
up.
got the big.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Correct, but yeah, they don't need to be left on overnight.
No.
To the point of the question, so.
It's right there, 'cause that's a stoplight over there.
Hmm?
That's a stoplight on that corner.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got no overnight lighting,
Mhm.
one sign, there might be two, but they'll be sandwich board, no crazy signage. And clean
Here
up.
comes the.
No
well,
dancing
yeah,
Santa.
gonna say the
Floppy-
blow up guy
Fluffy guy.
Ew,
dressed as Christmas, Santa or
on.
something.
ew, nope.
No little.
You guys
They have to wear
keep
elf
meeting,
hats.
we have to entertain
Can
you.
we specify that?
Quick, Shannon, shift the topic.
Yeah, we are gonna. Yeah.
Moving
So-
right along to number 2.
Two, Quest, 838 Farmington Avenue, Quest Diagnostic in the, Epicure, former Epicure, we're dropping the Epicure
Yeah.
name, but
Right.
former Epicure
that.
Plaza, the.
It'll be Naples.
Naples, Starbucks, etc. So anyhow, Quest is taking over where LabCorp was next to the Starbucks, in the split of the jeweler, the Monarch Jeweler space. So they've had a banner up, they've, requested the permit for their sign. They do need a building permit. I'm discussing this under planner's report because the banners had already been reviewed in the size.
Mhm.
The sign, the sign banner or frame had already been approved as part of the architectural review when we looked at the facade changes. So it's just gonna go right on there. The light panels are already in, the light bars are in. Anybody that's been there or driven by in the evening has seen that.
Mhm.
So the sign fits in the space. And it is going to align with, as I said, it's gonna take that LabCorp space. So that's what they're looking to do. So if there is no objection, I was gonna let them go right to building permit and
Sounds
just go
good.
ahead with that.
Yep.
Are they gonna come back for their monument sign again, or
I don't know. I have not spoken to the owner. So
we had?
they've got, there's a few other things that they're finishing up. So I do know they want a CO. So there's a zoning review that we have to do for the site plan work that was done. So the landscape islands and ADA and all of that. So we've got to take a look at that, and then we may have another conversation. I'm not
I
really
would
sure.
like to see them back.
He may decide to just leave the sign that's there, which is certainly his prerogative. So,
Mhm.
80 and 90. So item 3, 80 and 90 South Road, the
Yeah.
portable units that are going up, those are going to CO. 80 is in for review right now for CO, and 90 we're expecting by the end of the year. So we're, the staffing level, we're all having great fun with this, along with the developer and his contractor and everybody else. At any rate, what they've realized is the patios at the front of both buildings are prospectively, the proximity from South Road does not offer really any privacy. So what they're asking for is to install, you'll see in this graphic, a fence, just to offer some. It's going to be 4 foot high, to offer a little bit of shielding. So if you're sitting on the patio, you have some privacy from the street and those walking by. Obviously, if you were grill, I don't even know if they can grill on those, but if you were standing, then you would be looking over it. But it'll be this type of fence. It'll be a composite material. So it's not going to be a complete solid panel fence, like a stockade fence. There will be some light trespass through, but 4 foot in height, and they are going to proceed with the Arctic blend color. It's all, again, right at the edge of patio. I think there's 3 on building A and 5 on building B, and these are just for the front patios on South Road. Again, if there's no objection, I was gonna let them proceed. It didn't really require a full site plan application for the fence.
Sounds like a great
Yeah.
solution.
And it will be subject to, add to my note here, subject to fire marshal and building official approval. So they likely will have to have a gate on one end, because I believe the sliders act as an emergency egress out of the apartment onto the patio. So that'll need to have a gate to it, but I'll leave that to those gentlemen and figure out that coordination. So we're just okay on here for no site plan. And continuing along, having fun.
Bonus items.
This is like speed dating.
Mhm.
362, yes, Russell's Speeders.
Ah,
Oh, I just got a postcard in the mail
me too.
announcing it today.
They are active. We're having fun with them too. So
Oh, did I miss?
hang on here. Okay, so this is gonna be a little easier. Let me pop over to an aerial. So the 362 Scott Swamp Road one, so the Route 6 one on the west end of town. They are close to opening, if not,
I thought it was
like
tomorrow.
probably in the next day or a couple of days, I believe they will be
Yeah, the
opening.
14th. I saw it.
It's just tomorrow.
Does that postcard say the 14th?
I'm pretty sure it says the 14th and
Huh.
then,
I don't remember
Oh,
it saying a
okay.
date, but
No, it's just funny. I find it funny.
Check
'cause
your
they're
mail.
gonna post, but they don't necessarily have the documentation in hand, but that's their,
sure it had a date. I saw it.
their issue.
People were
Um,
14.
At any rate.
I don't know,
and,
it did have dates on the postcard. Sorry.
That's okay. So this is, this is the old aerial. This has
Yeah.
been revamped a little bit, right, from a circulation standpoint, but the building is the same and this loop coming around is the same. They've cleaned up this rear drive aisle. They've put in some sod. The perimeter of vegetation has remained, but they've cleaned that up and trimmed. There's some shrubs there as well as the evergreens, and the branches have been overhanging, so they've trimmed all that up. What they've realized as they've done all of this is that the view to the home at 20 and this portion is fairly open. And what they would like to do, if there's no objection, is to put in either a 6 or 7 foot black vinyl stockade fence. It does roll off. They put it at the top of the bank, and just provide some privacy. They are looking that perhaps they'll do it here. They've got, right as the drive aisle is there, there's a nice hedgerow and you're kind of vegetation to vegetation. So it probably isn't necessary to come all the way across the entire rear of the property, but they're thinking doing it definitely in this section, and then perhaps consider this section depending upon how everything evolves. So that's what they're requesting. Again, it would be a fence. We explained to them that if they kept it 7 feet or under, then there's no building permit. What they will do is put it on the as-built survey for us so that we've got a record of it. If they go higher than 7 feet, then there's a building permit's required because it becomes a structure then.
Was that a request from the homeowner that's
No, it
there?
was-
That was just there?
No, it was just them.
Being good neighbors.
Well, and I think to a certain extent, wanting to just keep a separation and understanding that we'd had concern with noise.
Yep.
Quite honestly, they have been, anytime we've put our foot down on something as we've been going along, because some of this, there were internal lights in the tunnel, the car wash tunnel. Some of them were like, well, wait a minute, that's on the outside perimeter and it's gonna be visible from Route 6. No, you can't do that. Okay, and they took them down. Like we've had very little pushback from them. They've been really, I don't mean to say, I would say surprisingly, given what we deal with on a day in and day out basis, surprisingly cooperative. But they've been really very decent to work with. We were there yesterday for noise test on the vacuums. Route 6 is noisier than the vacuum. In this particular case, the canister is interior and enclosed, and they've got soundproofing panels. We went into the room and the decibel meter was probably at like 85 or 90. You wouldn't want to be in there very long without ear protection. But outside, it's really like your household or your shop vac that you would use at home as your probably your shop vac at home is louder than what you're getting here because it's literally just the suction of the hose. So as you walk in, there's a little bit of you hear the hiss of the hose, the suction activation, but it's really very limited from a noise standpoint. So
That's good.
so yeah, they've been fairly cooperative. There's a few signage things that we've got to look into with them that we might need to tweak. And so if there's no objection, we're going to let them go ahead with the fencing. I'm getting head nods, so that's a good thing. And then there was one other change addition they made both here at Route 6 and at Wanamassa. They put in a canopy at the pay kiosks. So again, these are at the rear drive aisles around behind the facilities. And so there was they had the kiosks there, but there wasn't a canopy for them to provide any coverage or shielding. And so we've looked at these and they're in at Route 6. We told them to go ahead. It was already impervious coverage. What it's going to provide is some sun and weather protection for the attendant that's standing there. It would kind of seemed hard pressed to say no to that.
Yeah, right.
So, and it's either the blue or the red that matches the rest of the color scheme. It's to the rear in both Scott Swamp and Wanamassa. So we went ahead with those as well. So, okay. Yeses to everything. All right. 319 New Britain Avenue, our police station, has we've got the mountain bikes for the police officers for the summer patrols. And the mountain bikes had been stored internally to the police department and reworking some storage needs as we all do. They have a need to move the storage of the mountain bikes outside into really a shed. It's there's just over 200 square feet. It's 224 square feet. It will be low. So this is New Britain Avenue. This to the top of the page, this is the main parking lot that you would come in if you were going to the police station or the senior center and community center. And this is the main doors. This is the back access drive where the employees and the officer vehicles are stored. And this is the gated entrance that the officer vehicles enter and exit. There's really very minimal view from New Britain Avenue. 2 trees are going to have to come down to get this storage shed in and tucked in, but the remainder of these trees and the frontage trees will all stay in place. And like I said, I think it's 14 by 16. It's a standard shed, standard peak. It'll be a double door, or it might be a garage door. They haven't finalized that detail yet. It'll be vinyl siding. And it'll be a complementary color to the police department building. Because it is over 200 square feet, they will need a building permit. They may drop it down because it's if they go 14 by 14, then it's just a registration form. But nonetheless, before you, I don't think this again rises to the level of needing a full site plan application.
I would even
with
waive this.
PPZ. So, okay. All right, and last one that came in after some emails back and forth this afternoon. Signage for finally, so you'll recall Jordan's went in about a year ago. The Jordan's furniture store. And they have a tenant space off to the left-hand edge as you're standing at the main entrance looking. And it's Sally's Pizza. So they have agreed to halo lettering. The signage there was after we did the signage. So this was all the math for the signage of what had been there existing. So the existing Lord and Taylor had 451 square feet. The Jordan's is taking, call it 336 square feet, and it left 115 for that future tenant space. And Sally's is coming in at 60 square feet. So it's half of what would be allowed at that area, or just, yeah, roughly half. So if we could do a full sign application, but they had showed it when Jordan's came through, the math was done. We had looked at it all. We knew the allocation was coming. So if you're agreeable, I'll let it go right to building permit.
Yeah, that's fine. Any word on when they're finally gonna open?
Must be close if they're talking signage.
Nice.
so.
Yeah, it's been kicked off again. I know they had pulled back on all there was 2 new stores that Sally's is looking at, and they had put them on hold. And so this is the first I've heard. So the rest of it, I don't know. I know that it had come through building permit for that space. So I'm not sure where they stand in that process. Okay, thank you. And that was it. That's all I had. 6 is enough.
Thank you for that.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, do we want to
Was it
talk at
the
all about
number- Number 4 was.
Oh, sorry, the
So-
original number 4, so the affordable housing, so I think everybody got the links. So I updated the links, I sent it in a separate email and included the PDF from Tim Hollister. I updated the link here in the agenda review, so either the email or the agenda review should work. And then from a housing standpoint, some of this is happening organically, right? Obviously, the text amendment we're doing with the RDM is chipping, kind of our hand forced with the Public Act, but being able to put our own review elements to that. We also have had a request to take a look at our R12 zone. There's the R12 zone. So for there's already the allow for 2-family. So we're looking at that to see on expanding that. So that's where that stands. So really, it was to make sure all of you had access to this information. I think Hollister's report is interesting. It wasn't a difficult read if you've had a chance to read it or not. I know we throw a lot of stuff at you. You're volunteers and there's only so much time in a day.
Yeah.
So, but it's there. And it's really, I wanted to make sure, more than anything, make sure that you had access to all this information because I know not all of you have been part of this deep dive that we had done last summer. I think we're going to start seeing some additional residential things that we're tweaking with, just with applicants pushing and pulling at a couple of things. So I think some of this might start to happen organically, just as we have seen with some of it with the ADU regulation and some of the other things that we've tackled. Okay. Okay.
Any thoughts, anybody from reviewing or anything? Okay.
Well,
No. All right. Good enough.
okay.
Thanks, Jen.
Very good. Absolutely.
All right, can we get a motion and a second to approve the minutes from October 21st?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the P and Z meeting of October 21st, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes, meeting adjourned.